I have loved Pokemon since I was a kid. My first experience with the series was the anime, but my first game was my older brother's complete save file of Pokemon Diamond with a full team of level 100s, which included Infernape, Darkrai, and 4 others I can't remember. In my childlike wonder, I immediately released his Infernape, but I didn't know how to save at the time, so my brother's team was safe. My first official solo journey in the games was Soul Silver, a game I never completed on my DSi, lost it, then realized all the cool stuff I missed out on years later, like battling Red, who I still think is the coolest trainer in the entire franchise. In light of all that, I would go on to play a variety of Pokemon games. Some I enjoyed, others I didn't. Nowadays I tend to keep up with the games, movies, and anime in my spare time, though I'm just a casual fan with a lot of nostalgia for the franchise. Just to let you know, Pokemon 2003 is still the best Pokemon movie to date, and no, I have not seen all the other ones. Will that ever change? Probably. Though, in terms of the mainline games, I've played a decent chunk of them, specifically the 3D ones, which many people seem to have a distaste for. The stories of a lot of these games have never appealed to me or felt great, except for Scarlet and Violet, but that story came with a buggy, unfinished mess of a game that I'll save for another video. While I've heard the Pokemon Adventures manga is good, I've never sat down to seriously read it. Instead, I found my true love for Pokemon manga thanks to a fan manga known as, and you can probably guess it, the Festival of Champions. The Festival of Champions is, in my humble opinion, amazing, and scratches a particular itch I never knew I had when it came to Pokemon. The battles, the characters, the art, everything. When I started reading, there was no part of me that wanted to put it down, and now that I have some free time, I just had to analyze it. Though, everything must come in a proper order, so I'll begin with the story and main characters. The early parts of the story establish the rivalry between Red and Green, a rivalry reminiscent of Ash and Gary from the original series with more substance to it. They're childhood friends who bicker back and forth while having an unwavering respect for one another and who they are as people. The rivalry is what the story builds itself from because of their differing personalities and attitudes towards Pokemon training, leading to the different outlooks taken on by different trainers as the story progresses. For all intents and purposes, it's the typical opener for a story and the type of opener that I will never grow tired of, especially when the characters are well defined as they are in these early chapters. Chronologically speaking, the next key plot points of the story are Red, Blue, and Green's backstories, so let's tackle those in that order. Red's story is about his rise from inferiority and lack of talent into a respectable seasoned trainer. He understands his place in the world even from a young age despite his desire to become something greater. He understands Blue's maturity and Green's inner power, believing he has nothing that compares to them. However, he develops his own special qualities when he meets his Pikachu, who, like him, was an unremarkable Pokemon even by normal standards. There's a kinship between them because they are without merit or respect, so they have no choice except to prove themselves through their stubborn drive to show the world their worth. Red's heart and tenacity when trying to gain Pikachu's trust are the special qualities he's wanted. Interestingly, these qualities are something Green recognizes before Red himself does. Furthermore, Red's sympathy for Pikachu and Pokemon in general pair quite poorly with his temper and impulsive behavior, which leads to his near-death experience against Team Rocket. The aftermath of his encounter with Team Rocket marked a turning point in Red's character. His decision to give up on his dream is just him running away from the realities of battle. Pokemon are an extension of their trainer's will and emotion, in the same way trainers are an extension of a Pokemon's potential and ability. This is something that Red understands quite well, but rejects and resigns that relationship alongside his journey as a whole when he almost gets his team killed due to his reckless behavior. In spite of his reluctance to continue down the path of a Pokemon trainer, his Pokemon are not willing to let him walk away from his dream that easily when they have grown together and bonded, thus fulfilling their role as an extension of Red's emotion and will, reviving his heart once more to continue alongside them. Blue is a sensitive character who spares no short amount of sympathy for those around her and acts as a medium between Red and Green during the early parts of the story. She's the only one able to effectively call out Green on his cold-hearted nature while being able to temper Red's impulsive behavior. She fits perfectly into the trio's dynamic because she grounds her two friends. Sometimes her position is effective, other times not so much because she is a reactionary character. The story tends to happen to her because of her naivety and dream of things never changing, when the reality of her situation is that things can never stay the same. Blue's fear of touching Pokemon being a prime example of this. Her gloves are a constant reminder of her stalled personal development. They're a wall between her and her Pokemon until she takes on the Eevee Green gave to her. Eevee represents what will never be again. Eevee was trapped in the memories of her late friend with no want or way to escape her fantasy that was literally killing her. This is exactly what Blue wants too. She wants Green and Red to go back to who they were before, but in order to save Eevee, she has to change and reject this fictitious future so as to not insult who her friends had become. This event within Blue's story is a crucial part of her character as she develops a more proactive nature that pays off when she helps both Red and Green rather than acting as a medium between them. Her phone call to Green about Eevee's recovery and her understanding of the world reigniting Red's desire to battle again shows that she can truly push the story forward with her actions alone. Green is a prodigy. He is the grandson of the first Pokemon League champion and has a natural aptitude for training Pokemon right out of the gate, which is amplified thanks to his wealth of knowledge about them. For all that Green has going for him, his cocky attitude seems natural. He can be mean, but his lighthearted, kind nature does show through. His philosophy with Pokemon training, on the other hand, is straightforward. Power is everything for Green, so if a Pokemon isn't strong, he will let them go. Though a somewhat heartless philosophy that undermines the idea of how his Pokemon feel entirely, he does care for them. He sees the worth in the sentimental connection Pokemon share between one another and with their trainers. However, his calm hunger for power mixed with his rare kindness is changed to a cold disposition after the death of his Raticate. Raticate was his pride and his heart, a Pokemon which embodied his own desire for a challenge to overcome in order to reach new heights. Unfortunately, this same Raticate died from poison and fatigue after freeing Pokemon captured by Team Rocket. This is the moment when Green abandoned his care and emotion towards his Pokemon. Instead, his hunger for power only grew as his form of running away from what he lost because he blamed his own weakness for Raticate's death. It's here Green and Red begin to parallel each other, building up their confrontation of opposing philosophies in respect to their connection with Pokemon. Red sees them as friends and equals, while Green sees them as tools and soldiers to place him upon his desired pedestal. He truly alienates himself from both Red and Blue without a single care for them, even going as far as to belittle them at every turn, seemingly to lift himself beyond them. These three characters are the core of the story and represent three different types of trainers found in the world. Red is the ambitious trainer with something to prove, Blue is the compassionate trainer who wants to experience the world, Green is the naturally gifted trainer who seeks glory. Though these are simply cookie-cutter traits, the three evolve beyond as the story develops with their tournament character designs representing their growth. Red no longer wears his gloves, showing that he is going all out and cannot play around any longer, although his bright red outfit shows that his ambitious heart still burns as bright as ever. Blue's caring and outspoken nature, shown through her calm blue shirt and moderately short skirt, illustrate her vibrant, open personality. Green stops wearing his pendant to show that he's abandoned his sentimental motivation for becoming a trainer. He no longer wears any piece of clothing that represents the calm, certain Green he once was. Instead, he wears black, a color that absorbs all color, symbolizing his cold, detached nature that masks his true emotions. Red, Blue, and Green are three characters that are deep and interesting, but the story shines best through its battles, whether they are meant to challenge the main trio individually or to prove one's merit as a trainer. The battles tell a story regardless of how meaningless. Volkner versus Green, for example. We as the audience know Green would win because he is being built up to fight Red in the finale of the tournament. Even so, Green's one-sided victory is telling how far above Red and Blue he is through defeating a gym leader in the preliminaries. Red vs. Misty had the same expectation, but the emotional anguish Misty goes through in the aftermath of her falling short of her dream really shows her motivation is just as real as any one of the main trios. Blue vs. Scarlet again had the same expectation, and yet again Scarlet's defeat gives credence to the idea that she still has a long ways to go in her journey and has quite the hopeful future. The storytelling through the battles are excellent, but the art makes it all this amazing spectacle to read, and I absolutely love it. This frame of Espeon jumping across her reflex, Lapras crashing down against Starmie, or Umbreon kicking Arcanine are just a few examples of the multiple well-drawn and directed panels. There's a sense of weight to each and every movement during battle that makes you feel like you are in the heat of battle yourself. This manga is an absolute beast of a read, and one I won't soon forget. Festival of Champions is an amazing manga, or doujinshi as it's formerly known, and I think every Pokemon fan should read it. I would like to say it is a finished story, but that would be a lie. Festival of Champions is still being written, with the most recent chapter being released well over a year ago. The author Seiyjun is a single father and has an officially published work that he illustrated in Alda Noah Zero Twin Gemini. So he's most likely focused on work that keeps him monetarily stable, raising his kid or kids, and probably doesn't have the time or inspiration to continue making chapters at the current moment. Even with all this in mind, I still think Festival of Champions is the best Pokemon experience I've ever had. It just gives me a unique feeling I cannot quite describe. Albeit unfinished, I can guarantee that it is beyond one of the best Pokemon stories or fan-made works in general you could ever pick up and read. With that being said, please follow the author on Twitter and stop by his Pixivy. I'll link both of them down below in the description. That's all I've got for today. So please stay safe out there and have yourselves a damn good one.